Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose, and that enables me to talk to a wide variety of people in the Wadsworth community, and we're pleased to have Scott Larch with us today, the facilities manager for the Wadsworth City Schools. Scott, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
joining us this morning. And what is your background in facilities management?
Well, Bruce, I started at an early age. I started when I was in high school and through college. I worked at Wadsworth City Schools, started scrubbing floors. I moved to mowing lawn and then doing some maintenance work. And then after that, I had a little small stint in factory life, and that didn't work so well. So I went back to Wadsworth Schools for a couple of years, and I have 20 years at Polaris Career Center in Middleburg Heights.
I'm sure those experiences really have helped you. You've probably picked a little bit out of all of those jobs to make a well-rounded background in education.
That's correct, yes.
What about, why did you apply then in Wadsworth?
Well, I kind of wanted to go a different direction with my career. I wanted to go to a little bit of administrative side of the schools. And the biggest part too is it's closer to home. I drive 5 minutes commute compared to 55 minutes commute. So that was a big factor too.
No question about it. How long then have you been the facilities manager here for our schools?
I started out in 2014 as the custodial supervisor.
And I would imagine, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, you're fine. And then in 2017, they combined the two, the maintenance manager and the custodial manager, and made the title that I have today.
What are some of the things you've learned during your tenure here?
Oh my. One thing I've learned, how to multitask a lot better, and patience.
What would that entail? Could you explain a little bit further, multitasking, and also elaborate on your patience?
Well, you have so many things going at once. I do all the scheduling of events. I order all the supplies. I make sure that the buildings are covered when somebody's not around. And patience, I used to be hurry up and get it done. That's not the case. You have to do things in a perspective where the most important takes something first, and you have to put the other things on the back burner.
I would imagine it's really important to delegate. I know Wadsworth prides itself on getting good people to work in various capacities. And that probably makes you feel good that you have dependable folks that when you want something done, they will go ahead and come through.
Sure, I got a great group of people. My maintenance staff, they all specialize in something of their own. I have an awesome carpenter, an electrician, a plumber, a grounds person. They can do other jobs, but they really focus on, they get those type of work orders.
I think that's really important, and they can also, help some younger people, and they maybe pick up a few things there and mentor them. I think that's a real good idea.
Yeah, and I assign the work orders, and I let them prioritize how they should be done, and we monitor them to try to get them done as quickly as possible.
I know with unemployment currently at 3.5% in the nation, it's pretty difficult sometimes to get new people in various positions. How do you work it if someone is sick, or maybe your carpenter has an emergency and can't come to work?
They got a negotiated contract where they get an allotted sick time a year, or personal time, plus vacation. On the maintenance side, if they call off, we pretty much just continue as a team. Custodial side's a lot different because we have to make sure that building's clean and safe for the next day. So I have a pool of 13 subs that I can grab from to see if they come in and fill in for the spot.
That's really good, because that probably happens on a pretty regular basis, that people have things that they can't show up for work, or again, you'd probably want them to stay home if they're sick.
Yeah, I don't want
because they'll get the other people ill as well.
Yes.
What about how many employees are we talking, Scott, overall, if you can set up the various categories of your workforce?
The maintenance staff, I have 4. Custodial staff is 38, plus 13 subs. I have 1 head groundsman, and adult labor, and then I have 2 seasonal mowers that will start in March.
Wow, that's quite a lot of people.
I think it's a total of 52.
Wow, fantastic, and all the 52 are needed. I have been around the buildings, and they always seem to be scurrying around and trying to get their work done.
Sure.
What about speaking of the buildings? Can you give us some idea of the square footage? We may think in our house we have a lot to cover and a lot to clean, but I don't know if people would have any idea of the maybe elementaries and CIS, middle school, and of course the big one is the high school facility.
Sure, we have like 950,000 square feet. The 3 new elementaries, the Valley View, Isham, Overlook, are at 54,000. The smaller elementaries are approximately 40,000 apiece. That would be Lincoln and Franklin. CIS is about 110,000, and the middle school is about 148,000 square feet.
What was the high school again?
400,000 square feet. That's just our end of it. That doesn't count the YMCA and this building, because you have your own cleaners here.
Okay, now what about the field house? And I know in walking and being around the field house, AAU tournaments could happen there. Baseball is going to be around the corner. Sometimes in softball, and then certain times the track is being used by the track and field team. So would that fall under your cleaning or the Y?
The field house, our custodians take care of it, and we maintain the field house. We try to get over there at least every other day for the track, and every other day they dust mop and scrub the field house floors. Of course, over like Christmas break, when we have a long stint, we may fall behind because we don't have employees working. If we, for instance, if we're off Friday and we don't come back till Sunday, we could go that span without getting the field house, dust mopped.
Speaking of the facilities, they're really in use. People think they just are during school day, but just thinking about, when I talked to Mr. Zulia with speech and debate, he said there were 900 students here from not only this state, but a couple other states. Sure. And that's most of the day on the Saturday. You have the Grizzly wrestling tournament. You have all sorts of other big activities with conferences and plays, etc. How does the staff work around all those activities?
Well, actually, Bruce, we have to man the school building when there's activities still going on. The sporting events, we have to have a custodian on staff in case of an emergency. And then after it's over, I bring in extra custodians to clean to make sure the building's ready for the next day. Plus, we have our rentals for like the church that comes to the high school every Sunday. I have to have a custodian there for that. Anytime there's a public use in the school, I have to have an employee on duty.
Yeah, I think some of those things we take for granted, that we think the school shut down on Friday, but a lot of times there's just many things going on during that time as well.
Yes, last week alone I had 4 different schools with different activities, so I have to coordinate and get this custodian scheduled, and they're on a rotation, get them scheduled to make sure that the building is going to be occupied by a custodian.
What about the extra efforts that your staff has to be involved in when we have, so far, knock on wood, we've had a pretty mild winter, but as soon as we say that, lately we've had kind of late winters in February and March. What do you do to make sure that there's no people slipping or accidents with the parking lot and the driveway for snow and ice?
I try to monitor the night before, and I'm like a weatherman. Sometimes I don't get it right. But the maintenance staff and the grounds crew will come in at 4 a.m. to start plowing and salting the district. That's for the driveways. The custodians in each building take care of the sidewalks. So they'll come in anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours early, depending on the amount of snow and ice we get, to remove the snow and salt the sidewalks.
I know the closing of school is a very important aspect and a tough decision sometimes for Dr. Hill. Are you consulted at all with what you're seeing on the buildings and grounds?
Sometimes I'll get the phone call to make sure I have a crew coming in, but normally Dr. Hill and Gabe take care of that, Gabe Tudor.
What about the opportunity? You indicated that sometimes even over Christmas break there are activities going on, but I would imagine that gives you a breather to maybe catch up on some things at Christmas break and then later on spring break. What are some things that you might do during those times when there's not school?
Sure. We try to get the floors all polished back up, take care of some carpets. We have an HVAC person on staff. That's a good time for him to change some filters, change some belts, get the preventive maintenance side of things done while there's nobody in the building.
And the summer, that's certainly a break, although again, you have summer school, you have other activities in the reading programs in the elementaries, etc. How do you try to go ahead and organize cleaning maybe the elementaries and all the other buildings? And how many total buildings are there? Like eight buildings? Wow.
Plus the maintenance garage, plus the administration building, plus the bus garage.
Okay, all right. How do you try to go ahead and organize and get those clean?
Usually I start about mid-May ordering supplies and have them delivered to each school to make sure that when the custodians get there, they're ready. We do what we call a tag team clean at the elementary buildings. All the elementary buildings personnel will start at one school, and it usually takes about 2 weeks to get that school completed. And then we'll grab our stuff and we'll go to the next school. But we have to work around summer school, like you said. The one school, we can only do it, like, we try to get most of it done, but then we have to get out because summer school's coming in, then we go back towards the first week of August and finish up.
I noticed the last several years there have been some real nice improvements with the sidewalks at the administration building and the parking lots. You know, there's a plan for, it seems like it's been a gradual improvement in the lots around the district. And then how do you maintain the cleanliness and trying to keep those lots safe?
Yeah, when I took over, I asked Dr. Hill if we could start doing a little bit more preventive maintenance on the parking lot and the sidewalks. So each year I try to take a little chunk out to walk the district, make sure everything is safe, make sure the parking lots are no holes, make sure it's lined properly. And what was the other question, Bruce?
It was again the cleanliness, you know, picking up, and lots, and making sure the lines are visible.
The lines, if it's not too big a project, we do that in-house. We have the machines to do it. The parking lots are usually picked up by the custodians. When they see trash, they'll go out and get them. The grounds crew, as they're doing their mowing and weeding, they see trash, they'll take care of that.
And I notice also in some of the elementary you've added, like at Overlook, there, as you first go in, there's kind of a new lot to the side with additional parking, and then there was also in the back of the school there was a place for like 6 or 8 cars. Have you been involved in that?
Yeah, that was done just prior to me coming in, but there just wasn't enough parking with all the traffic that goes through there, and it was more of a safety issue too. That way the teachers can park off to the side, so the students and the parents are not crossing the roads, and they can park in the parking lot.
That is quite a, you know, I do some tutoring at Valley View, and I try to get out of there before dismissal. It's really kind of difficult sometimes to get traffic in and out, and it's really, you know, we have a lot of students going to various buildings, and parents want to pick them up. It's quite a chore to get them in and out, isn't it?
It's congested, yes.
What about the grass? You talked about having a coordinator for the grass and some extra people. How many total people do you have, and how much grass are we cutting over, I guess, from mid-April to maybe November?
Yes, I have 4 people mowing, 1 maintenance person. If I can get him to pull off, he helps mow. I have a head groundsman who actually came from the rubber ducks. He took care of the fields of the rubber ducks. He took care of numerous golf courses. So he kind of helps out with that process. So I have 4 there, and then I have 2 adult laborers that'll start. One starts in March, one starts in May, especially during the growing season, so the grass doesn't get away from us.
And how often do you try to plan on the grass being cut?
It's a vicious cycle. You start on Monday, and you turn around, and you're back where you were on Monday. So We try to get it once a week. It just depends on the weather.
Boy, it's a lot of grass to contend with, and it seems like again we're working around the weather, and sometimes it's pretty wet. But that's certainly sounds like it's handled by a good individual and someone. Again, you don't seem to worry too much about that area.
No, sometimes we mow in the rain. You know,
Right.
we have so much we can't let it get ahead of us.
One of the biggest activities that the school district has is graduation. What might you do? Of course, you know it's kind of moved up over the years. It's kind of the near Memorial Day, the last week of school in May. What do you try to do to put on a good face and a good front for the school? A lot of grandparents coming from out of state. The students really looking forward to that. A lot of relatives here, and an awful lot of people coming into the high school to see that activity.
Sure. Our custodians set up the gymnasium. They set up the stage, the chairs. We have to bring some chairs from other buildings in to assure we have enough seating, make sure the facility's clean. Our grounds crew focuses heavily on the high school building to make sure that it's nice and tidy for the visitors coming in. Most importantly, we have to make sure the air conditioning's cranked, because you may have it set at 68, but once you get all those people in there, it gets quite warm.
No question about it, especially, again, with the number of people. It seems like in close proximity, you probably have to put that down a couple notches.
Sure.
Speaking of that, it's a good segue to go ahead and talk about some of the initiatives your department has been involved in saving money for the residents of the district. Do you watch that real closely, the temperature of the buildings,
Yes.
maybe in the winter, and as it gets into April and May, it gets warmer? And what other things do you do to try to save some money?
Yeah, we have our HVAC on a schedule. It comes on at a certain time in the day, goes into what you call a standby at night. So it's going to drop, so it's not running 24/7. We've put LEDs lighting in Franklin, Lincoln, and the Board of Education. We just did a big upgrade at the middle school, which we put LEDs in the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and the second gym, the auxiliary gym. And that has a payback of 1.5 years. So the money we spent on the lights, in 1.5 years they have paid for themselves, and then after that the savings keeps going. Working closely with Phil Luthman, we're trying to get rid of the POTS lines, the phone lines for fire and security. It'll be a web-based security system with a cell phone backup, and that's going to save the district about $22,000 a year.
That's really important to keep up, and things change, seems like on a yearly basis. Does the district go through like an energy audit, or someone come in and taking a look at the whole facility to ensure that we are not spending money we shouldn't?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I just got a report for our energy, and we're doing quite well. There's some things we need to tweak a little bit, but yeah, we keep a close eye on how much we're spending on the energy.
What about tips from your staff, the custodians or some of the maintenance people, if they have some ideas? Are those looked at, and if they're proven right, we can make some changes?
Oh, sure. I have an open door. I don't say no right away. I listen to what they're saying, and we'll sit down and discuss it. If they have a better idea than I have, then let's do it.
That would also be the same with parents or concerned citizens. If we have a retired engineer or someone that worked in the energy field and they have an idea, you certainly would be willing to listen to their proposal or ideas?
Sure. Yes.
What about, we talked about the summer, we talked about the employees. Now also Debbie Miller was on in September, the retired bus coordinator, and she said if they could, and they're having real trouble with sub bus drivers. She indicated that if she couldn't find, if the driver was ill, she would call on maintenance workers to drive. Is that the case? Or?
Yes, I have one individual that does. She gets pulled quite often to drive bus. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. If we have a lot of snow and I get one truck pulled off the lots, it puts us in a bind. But she does drive quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure they have the fleet, has numerous buses, and again, someone could have emergency or be ill, and also maybe for the extra run. Sometimes they run short of people going to spring activities or winter, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
Speaking of spring sports,
Yes.
the Indians truck left today, Scott, for Arizona.
I saw that.
It'll be there coming up, and so that is a sign that we're halfway through winter already. And I get really excited about the spring sports, and baseball in particular, and softball as well. So do you go ahead and have responsibility for lining those fields and like the throwing areas for track and field?
Yes, like I said, our guy came from the Rubber Ducks. So our softball and baseball fields are in pristine. He lines those, he gets assistance with the other fields. We lined softball, baseball, lacrosse on the practice fields, the 2 football fields, and we even lined for cross country.
Yeah, that certainly, and you need to know those schedules ahead of time, but because if the softball is away, the varsity, the JV's home, so you need to line it anyway,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, what about some of our, and you've been here several years, comparison with the time that some of your employees are at CIS, being an older building versus some of our, and we have a lot of newer facilities as well. What does it seem like we're spending a lot of money and a lot of time and effort into the CIS building because of its age?
Not so much. They did some upgrades prior to me coming here. And it's just like any other school. We get the work orders, we put them in. The custodians there do a wonderful job for the age of the building. But overall, CIS, it has some quirks, but overall it's doing pretty good.
Okay, what about, we mentioned, but we didn't really get into work orders. Who can develop a work order? Does it have to be a principal, or can it be a teacher through a principal? How does the whole system work?
Yes, anybody can put in work orders. And then they come to me, and then I assign them accordingly. And the maintenance guys, they prioritize. They've been with the district long enough, they know what's most important, and they prioritize their own work orders. And then at the end of every week, I just go through them, make sure we're keeping up with them and we're not falling behind.
Again, if a community member or parent would have an idea that, something, and of course, some things, you can't fix with the, as we indicated, the parking lot at Lincoln, that's what it is. I mean, you're not going to be able to add on probably to that area, but if they're within reason, you'll talk to the people and take a look at if there's a possibility of doing things.
Yeah, I'm open to any suggestions that we could discuss with Gabe and myself. And they can contact me anytime. They can go to the Wadsworth City Schools website, and I have an email link there. They can email me anytime, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can.
What about, does the district then advertise if you do have, if someone's going to retire? Do you go ahead and advertise for that and try to get new people in various jobs?
Yes, and that is all on our website as well. We advertise for jobs. A lot of times we have to offer in-house first. For example, if a custodian retires, I may have a teacher's aide that all of a sudden wants to be a custodian. Since she's already with the district and she has all the credentials, she'll move into the custodial side.
Well, and that has some advantages, doesn't it? That employee probably knows the policies of the district, probably knows the lay of the land, and maybe has observed that person. If I want to go ahead and go into another position, I probably know a little bit about that and might want to go ahead and just, we don't really lose much emphasis there. Everything goes smoothly and moves forward.
Sure, I have about 4 or 5 substitutes that are actually school employees, but they don't get 40 hours a week. So as needed, I will call them to see if they want some extra time, and they can work up to 40 hours. Some are bus drivers, some are teachers' aides, some are kitchen people, but they also come over to my side too.
Well, that's wonderful to have that flexibility because, again, things come up and, again, there could be emergencies, a pipe bursts or something goes on. I'm sure no 2 days are the same for you, are they?
They're not. No, they're not.
What about yesterday? Was there any surprises you had on your schedule? All of a sudden things?
No, I got some surprises last night. I had a custodian two different custodians called me that, that there was an emergency with the water on a toilet. So I advised them to turn them off until I could get the plumber in today to take a look at it. My phone usually stops ringing or texting about 11 o'clock at night.
Well, that's good to know. At least you can get some sleep for the next
Well,
day.
unless we have alarm calls.
Right. Okay.
Most alarm calls come to me, whether it's burglar, air conditioning, whatever, then I come out.
Any big projects set aside for the summer?
Not really. We'll continue with the cement. We'll continue with the asphalting, entertaining the idea of, which would be by an outside company, but with LED lighting throughout the middle school.
Well, that sounds again like a money saver for the district, and I'm sure they'll be appreciative of that. Thank you for watching Bruce on the Loose. We've had a great show today with Scott, and hopefully you can see us on our next show. Thank you so much.